Hey everybody, welcome back to a little place we call Studio F. Today's video is number 10 in the series of 12, and it's about mixing my song Gimme. If you haven't heard the song yet, checking it out would help make this video more entertaining for you, more informative for you. There it is. Now I've got a little surprise with this installment of the video, and you might want to say, hey, wait a minute here. It's like I'm pulling a fast one here, like I'm serving a cake without icing, like maybe, oh, I don't know, it's a bologna sandwich without the bologna, or like you're expecting King Kong and you're getting a ding dong. But I kind of sort of felt this all along. What I'm talking about is mixing. But first, let's talk about hairdos. It might look like I'm trying to pull off a Rasta, but it's actually a wasta, as in what my grandmother might say. Wasta you do to your hair. But before we get too caught up in the whole thing here, I want to touch on a little thing I'm introducing here regarding the whole virus thing, and I'm calling it COVID, play it safe. Okay, we've got a new social paradigm, distancing. But we've got to carry on our lives as artists despite these setbacks and do so on our own terms, right? How, as artists, do we cope with the new world of social darkness? So in situations like these, we all help each other, and we draw on our skills to do that. Well, yeah, I'm an idea guy, so I put together a few ideas here. So for the visual arts, we have something like this could be a way to go about things, or enjoying music. I feel safe. And for vocalists, what in the past has been a traditional pea popper device. Put your this in front of between yourself and your microphone there and pop your peas. Now becomes a social distancing safety tool. So we gotta look at what's out there and use what we have to be able to still go out there and just play for people. But the most difficult thing about performing is not being able to interact with your fans. For some artists, it's their lifeblood. That's part of the problem here with this quarantine stuff. So the big picture, what are we really looking at, with live performance and music? Where do we start? Well, I say let's start with the flute. I mean, come on, look at this thing. Talk about spittle. Anyway, yeah, got to get rid of the flute. But the spittle, yeah, the spray alone, and the spittle, it'll come out of the tittle there. Oh, flute, first one out the door. And along with it, its distant cousin, the harmonica. So that's a good start. But what about other performers, buskers, vocalists, singer-songwriters out there doing their thing? What can we do? What kind of solutions can we offer them to allow them to continue, their craft, their art? So this dilemma brought me, to a safety-centric, comprehensive solution. A solution for both performer and audience. And at first, I kind of thought it was a little impractical. Once I give it some thought, it was a simple connect the dots to the perfect solution for this problem. Gotta get safe under this plastic, or else everybody's gonna suffer. Safe performing in today's socially germ-conscious awareness society paradigm. This is the way to go. Trucking, I got my chills,
Oh man, how about a song from this century, please?
Lover, lover.
No, you idiot, not a chick song. What's wrong with you? A dude
Baby.
song, man.
Baby.
Don't embarrass me, dude.
Baby.
Come on, man.
Baby.
Idiot, a dude
Baby.
song.
That's pretty good, man.
Really?
I go,
Can you pep it up a bit?
Oh, what does everybody think of the flute, man? Yeah, that instrument's just too much of a mess for the new world, While I have everybody here, I wanted to tell you about a new item, a new piece of swag I have on my website. It's a new t-shirt. Well, check it out if you like, And here's a QR code so you can just drill right down and pick up this cool item now. chica bata How you guys feeling, man? You guys feeling safe, man? I'm feeling, woo, I've been protected. Thanks for coming out to come and see my safe performance. Hope you guys are feeling safer, that I'm feeling safe, and we're all really safe, you know? That's the way to be creative, real safe. Yeah. The Dale Wozni Safety First Live Performance Practicality Process Endeavor Situational Device Control Solution. Yeah. Ever more complicated with these little frets here. And the gloves, and I keep on trying though, you know. Give me more, 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 give me more. Yeah, cool. Thanks very much for coming to see my show. Hope you guys are digging it. Okay then, stay safe and see you next time. Okay, here we go. I start with the drum track. I try to think of it coming from a place, either a physical, emotional, or perceived kind of a space, place, location, area. Video 9 for the details of this sound as a place concept. But for now, in a nutshell, I try to make it an environment you kind of step into an experience. So for Gimme, I wanted a big, fat, massive sound as a backdrop. And here's what we got. Yeah, MIDI drums. Let me say this first. I would love to sit down with a studio and all the time in the world, set up the real drums, the mics, and the cables, and the percussion, the testing, and the da-da. But man, that's a pain in the butt. And for our purposes here, for my purpose, I get what I want with MIDI. It's almost as good. I think the benefits kind of equalize. You get, you give, you get, you give. And I think I'm happy with it. So there you go. So that was the drums and the environment space sound. So now we're going to add the bass. So I recorded it direct in, highly compressed. I did not have to EQ it one bit. Here it is, just slapped right in. So I lock the drums and the bass sound together, and that now becomes the new zero. Everything else that gets dumped on top has to negotiate with what's already there. I hesitate greatly once those initial levels are set. I really don't want to touch those because then that opens a can of worms. When you start, the drums are against nothing, so that becomes your reference point, your zero. Then as you add tracks and lump them in, you have a new zero and you just move along. So this is another way of leveraging the always mixing technique by always moving along and never going back. So as you dump these tracks in, you're listening really to two things. The track that you just put up, and then the blend of the track that you're adding to the one you just put up. So now you got two things to join and create, like I said, the new zero. Then you kind of repeat this new zero technique as you move along, and it kind of keeps everything together. Next up, the first guitar track, the big fat guitar stack. This is the only guitar that was not recorded direct in. I plugged it into one of those little Mighty Mite amps, turned it up to 11, stuck a mic in front of it, and bam, that's what you got. And it was the first track I recorded after the bass. Every time the riff comes around, it does two hard chunks followed by two single chunks. Really cool slug. So here's Sluggo tossed into the salad. to think I have to add some spin on every track to kind of give it a special sound. Now I kind of think the opposite of that. I think there's an organic purity that gets lost when you start to dink with an already recorded track, a wave file that is. I don't know, maybe it's me.
So maybe it's me.
Maybe it's me. Every time I take a wave file and try to shove it through some gadget, some tailoring, some sound sculpting process, it seems to like take the life out of it, takes the colors out of it. It's like it suffers, it becomes thin, becomes soulless. That's the best way I can put it. And then after you start doing that to track after track and putting them all together, it's like a ghost. It's like all the life is gone. It's weird. Think real cheese, and then think this stuff. That's one way to look at it, or one way to hear at it. So, the message here is beware sweetening your tracks. I don't know, maybe it's me.
So maybe it's me.
I really only arrived at this realization quite by accident, by not slapping spin on a bunch of tracks. And I heard something, and I went, wait a minute. I better, slap a name on the other way of doing things and put a big caution label on it there. So I'm here mixing. I'm mixing. But really, what am I listening to? What am I listening to? What am I actually listening for as I'm going through this process? Well, in one sense, I'm listening to two things. I'm listening to the sound quality I'm getting right now, but I'm also listening to how the song is building as it moves along. Now, your basic song starts at 0, and it has to, during the course of the song, it has to go to 11. It has to hit some milestone. It has to launch. It has to catch fire at some point. There are a lot of ways to do that. In the case of Gimme, I've decided I'm going to use the eventual or the slow drip build of instruments being added to the track to achieve that, to help achieve that build that I'm looking for, that objective. I use what I've called in other video 5 actually, a puzzle piece guitar track. So if you want to find out more about how that all came together, you can check out video 5, guitar tracks. So striving to listen on these two levels is like listening to the now and the mix you're getting right at the moment. It's like vertical, and then the build is like horizontal aspect of the song playing out over time. So my mixing of Gimme is just another a way of adding to the build of the song that I like. So like I'm saying here, I use the guitar tracks to help facilitate a nice slow, even build of the song. A slow build of introducing these guitar tracks to help move the song along, yeah. However, when I recorded the tracks, I did not do it that way. I played the track for that, played the part for that song from the beginning to end, and then later on, I decided which parts I was going to keep, which parts I was going to chuck, and so for those spaces I knew a particular track was not going to be featured at the moment, I just deleted that part, and then for the gray zones, I used the automation and the software to bring those in and out as I decided I liked. So this way, by the time all the guitars are finally in, they're all integrated, they're chugging along together, it's the end of the song. Wow. So to hear more, you gotta play the song again. Cardinal rule, always leave them wanting more. ALTWM. The old, hello, I must be going. So with this record all, use some technique, I had a lot of stuff that got chucked and had to delete. What? Delete tracks? Oh my goodness. Here is what I do to allow myself the freedom to delete them. Before I start every session, I open the track up, I save as, add, name to it, save as backup such and such date, put it aside, and then I go back to the one I'm working on. So I can only screw up one day's work. And another benefit to that is, say I get way down the line, I go, oh God, I remember something cool from 2 or 3 versions ago. I can always go back and hear that and incorporate it as needed, as I, the artist, sees fit. Okay, last thing was bass and drums and the super stack fat butt guitar. So we're down with the Swiss cheese tracks. Now first we have, next up we have, well this isn't really a Swiss cheese, this is like the, what I'm calling the plain Jane guitar track. Just even, smooth from start to finish. First you hear it, and after a while you don't hear it, but you feel it, man. So it had to be both present but subtle. So I didn't want to turn it up, and I didn't want to just, couldn't pan it left or right, and it just kind of, so I took a digital clone of that track, panned one really heavy right, the other heavy left, so it's super present wherever you are, but not too loud as to be obnoxious, or just plain noxious. So here's that plain Jane track integrated with everything else we got so far. Now, what I did not do with these guitar tracks as I was, slowly introducing them in the course of the song is I didn't go back to the previous tracks and bring those volumes down to compensate. Just left them where they were and added more and more tracks to the soup. Now, normally, at some point relatively early in your song, all your primary tracks are going to be in. So this is a weird case in the song Gimme where it just wasn't the case. So the end result is sort of a sparse, intimate beginning portion of the song, which then slowly devolves into pure chaos by design. Yes, it does become a thick paste by the end, but yum yum, eat 'em up. Next, the buzzsaw guitar added to the stew. And on the same performance track, another puzzle piece of the guitar, and you can hear that in between the buzzsaw guitar. I'll point it out there with some visuals. Don't worry, you'll see it. Relax. Next, here's the first solo added to the hopper. I think with this, you can start to feel the instrumentation start that build I'm talking about. Next, wah-wah guitar. Then, the duet solo guitars tossed into the chipper with everything else. Well, except for the vocals, all the tracks are in. Wait, what's coming up? Bullhorn guy? All right. So here's what I did for the background to the bullhorn guy section. I created a funkless drum beat and a no funk bass part, added a funky EQ, and the funny thing is I had to use my crazy flipping fingers to execute a cool mix on this one. Here's what I did. The funkless dinky drums and the honey brony bass bony stuff that ain't no good, I put that on another synthesizer, and the normal big old fat ass drums and the cool, actually real bass, me playing it, is on one synthesizer. So when it got to the bullhorn part, I did a crossfade. I faded out one synthesizer and then faded in the other one. And then at the end of that part, faded them back like this. You can see, flipping finger magic.
Now hear this. With the 1% on notice. We're taking the world back. Forget about your POTUS. Well, all we can stand. Can't stand no more. We're just worried about the next inevitable.
Big!
Just like in the old 24-track days when you'd mix down to stereo, you were always doing some kind of funky, weird slidiness. You know, 2 or 3 guys would be set up, they'd have their moves at certain points and they'd do it. And, did you get it right? No, do it again. Oh, man. All the time we're doing that. Yeah, all the time. Cutting tape, razor blades. Yeah, we did that stuff. Oh, we're coming on the home stretch here. So what's left? We just got to integrate the vocal tracks. But always remember this. Every time you turn one track up, in effect, you're turning everything else down in relationship. Relative. Oh, ow, once again, baby. Another way to look at mixing is like a sculpture. He doesn't go in and finish the nose and finish the toes and finish the eyes and finish the thighs. He does the whole thing. 14%, 23.9%, 86.2%, 98.9%, then the finishing touches on everything. And that's how we do music, man. So be real feathery on those sliders. And the further down you get with the mix, the more feathery they become. Onward, feed in the vocals, feed them in.
My money, make money, my money, make money, my money.
Okay, here's a slightly different version of the listen to two things theory I've been, blabbing on about so far. Why? Well, because the voice is supposed to stand out a teeny bit. It's, instead of the blending, it's got to be almost like a us and them kind of a thing. Balance to make it work, I think, like it should. Here's an interesting notion. A good mix can be distilled down to a 3-legged stool. 1, can you feel the beat? 2, can you hear the vocals? 3, are you feeling the rest of the music? Too simple? The good thing about this too simple approach is if you pay attention to just these 3 things, you can't make any big mistakes. It's a cinch, you'll probably get it right. And everything else kind of falls into place a lot easier if you just apply these. And if one falls out of whack, well, the thing falls over pretty quick because it's a 3-legged stool. Okay, back to Gimme and adding the vocals. So better to leave a little space in your arrangement rather than jacking up the volume all the time. So just a kind of an idea to get that blend you want without whacking everything up. So everything's in and we're chugging along and applying the 3-legged stool concept as we listen.
Nah, skip it. Give me some crap from China to sell. And ship it. I got so much money! More than enough for 6 lifetimes. I don't work. Every day is sunny. My money makes money. My money makes money. My money make money. My money make money. My money. My money's good. Hey, but your money's better. I'll take your money from you. You be a debtor. You want to sit in the car? and slide. We don't earn or take. We're a crook with a suit and tie. We say thank you and give me more. Give me more, give me more, give me more, give me more, give me.
Also, in the case of Gimme, when I got to that bullhorn section, I brought that whole thing down in the stereo mix only, so when the big fat came back in, it would just bam you over the head. Now, I have another computer that I use to capture the mix, and in the case of Gimme, what I did for the ending fade was just fade it out using that computer. And you say, well, why not use the original software and program that in? Well, what would happen then is I'd be fading out my music, but I'd still be left with that hiss that whole system is generating. So when I fade the stereo mix, everything, including the hiss, goes with. And once again, the further along you get, turning one up means you're turning everything else down. So try to avoid all but the little teeniest little tweaks of all that stuff if you want to not mix yourself into a corner. So there you have it, the tear apart, put back together mixing video installment of my song Gimme. I'm Dale Wasney, and this is Studio F signing out until next week. So next Friday at 4, the wrap up, including all the crazy stuff that happened from the CIA coming in on things and the whole national lockdown. It's going to be a crazy wrap up. Check it out next Friday at 4 and stay safe, everybody. Yeah. My glasses are steaming up already.